5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay then, hello, willkommen, bienvenue, konnichiwa, ni hao, jambo, marhaba. It's time for another Arms Inquisition podcast here on Sunday, the 30th of October, 2022. Episode 254, I'm Phil.
I'm Ben.
And we're very happy to be joined by Dom and Chris from the Sheep Farm podcast this week. How are we doing, chaps?
Good evening.
Fellas, you alright?
Yeah, good, thanks, guys.
Nice to meet up finally, and some fellow Northerners.
Yeah.
Just to walk over hill though, Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other side of the Pennines, God's country.
Yeah, I suppose. Whatever that is. We're in some sort of country, aren't we?
We were actually brought up right on the border of Lancashire, weren't we? Actually,
Yeah, we were. Yeah, Scammondon.
Yeah, Scammondon.
I can see Scammondon from my house.
One end of Motherwell.
Scammondon, not Scavendon. The same thing, probably.
Dam.
Is that near Mordor?
Yeah. Inner Earth. Yeah.
Was Huddersfield one of the stops we used to do on that real ale trail?
It was. We did it on my stag do. I remember wearing ladies' clothes at Huddersfield.
At Huddersfield.
You were
in
ahead
drag.
of your time there.
I was, yeah, absolutely.
It's all the rage now.
Who knew? Yeah, it's too popular.
I bet you wouldn't do it now, would you?
Yeah. It's yesterday's news now.
That's it.
Yeah,
Dressing up in women's
Unless
clothes.
you've got a
with
pair
hairy
of
legs.
tits.
Working on it.
you're working on your moves.
You weren't playing a keyboard, were you? Were you
Dongle
sprouts, were you?
Afraid not. No.
No. Some bolt-ons. No.
I've still not seen that video. I don't particularly want to, I don't think.
No, so Dom sent it to me and I watched it without thinking what it was. And I watched it all.
Was it a good
Couldn't unwatch it.
How tuneful was it, though?
No, do you know the worst thing about it was, as a TV presentation, it was shite. It wasn't even slightly entertaining. The only, it wasn't musical or anything. He just ripped his top off, got his tits out, and then started playing piano with his Willie. Sorry.
Yeah.
What? It should have held his arms out and gone.
Are you not entertained?
That's what I did.
He kind of
Like
did hold his arms
Gladiator.
out like that. He did actually hold his arms out like that.
He did actually, yeah.
But I was thinking they banned all those Fawlty Towers episodes because he mentions Germans. But that's all right. How does that work out?
What was it on Newsnight?
I think it was on Channel 4, wasn't it?
Of course.
No, it was BBC 4.
Oh, is
Well,
it?
no, it was Channel 4, actually. but
Highbrow.
it's-
Oh, no,
Channel 4 is BBC, isn't it?
It's all the same shite.
Yeah, it's all the same thing anyway. Yeah.
There was something on Channel 4, I think it was this week or last week. What was it called? My Massive Cock.
Yeah, massive cock. Yeah.
Right?
Did that one pass you two by?
I don't watch
Was that-
TV,
is that what
so
it-
I never see
Is
it.
that what the show was called? My
Yeah.
Massive Cock?
Yeah.
Right? All right, straight for it. Yeah.
Well, obviously, I DVR'd it straight away, you know.
So TiVo it.
My Massive Cock, main sort of participant, Brenda.
What actually was it about? I know it's about, obviously, but
Clues in the title, Chris.
No, but it was like a
But-
bolt-on thing, you know. Where
No, it's
could
just
take
some
it on
chap
and
with a
off,
big lad.
Right.
oh, it were actually a documentary about a man with a big lad.
Several chaps.
He had
Oh, right.
several big
Loads of
penises.
Right.
Yeah, I watched it hoping I would get some good clips out of it.
Right.
And I just swear it was a complete waste of time.
Well, something you could learn from.
Well, it's a problem that some of us suffer from, you know.
Did he not measure up?
Micro
Can you-
penis.
That's
That's actually a thing. That's actually a word, isn't it?
They don't
Inversion.
call me Harvey Weinstein for nothing. The mushroom cock. What is it with all these creeps and the mushroom cocks? Wasn't who's the guy who didn't kill himself? Sorry.
Epstein. Yeah.
He was another one, wasn't he, with the mushroom head?
I've never heard of that before.
No, I've never heard of that one, but they're like
There's far too many shows and discussions about genitalia these days, I think.
yeah.
It's definitely not necessary, is it?
Yeah, I mean,
What
blokes
else are you going to
having
put on telly?
yeah, exactly. But blokes are having grinder mud flaps glued on, and women are having knob and balls glued on, and What's going on, man?
Did he just glue it on?
I don't know what they do, but it's a boss stick or something.
Sticks like shit, isn't it?
Yeah.
No nails.
Barrel tight. That's what you want. Two-part dual pump
glue gun.
Yeah. I think it's just what's that word where you're like sort of spying on people? Not. It sounds like euphemism.
Voyeurism.
I think it's that. It's sort of tapping into this voyeuristic nature that a lot of us have, isn't it? And I think the same with social media. A lot of social media is like a lot of people put some wild stuff on their Facebook and their Twitter, like personal stuff and medical stuff and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people are just attracted. It's like a voyeuristic itch that they get to scratch.
In the old days, you'd have people in the pub just bending your ear about any old bullshit ailment they've got. It's exactly the same, except you don't have to go to the pub. It's online. Yeah, they don't have to venture outside their house in order to
they don't have to go dogging anymore.
Bullshit, yeah. So yeah, it's hard. Channel 4 have always been a bit sort of tried to be a bit edgy, haven't they, with their programming?
I remember Eurotrash when we were growing up.
Eurotrash, that was a legendary program. Bring that back.
I think we're in an eye generation though, where everything's about me, innit? That's what the social medias does. Everything's I this, and it's all me and selfies and look at me. You know what I mean? The things people are fucking interested in.
There's people trying to join the club. We were just talking about this before the podcast, weren't we? You know, what was it, George Carlin? He said,
"It's a big club, and you ain't in it."
Exactly. Yeah. So these people want to be famous, and it's the best they can do is to just force themselves on other people, and then try and be as edgy as possible. Try and say the most controversial shit. Because even a ban is no news is good news. Even a ban is, people are gonna maybe prick their ears up. Pricking your ears.
We're from that generation who remembers what life was like before the internet, before social media and Napster and MySpace, and we've seen all this sort of come up over the last 20 years.
Rapid.
But I remember, when the internet was first getting popular, it was like there was websites, and you would have to be some sort of computer nerd genius to like set up your own website.
Thank you.
Whereas social media is sort of giving everyone their little space, hasn't it? Their little plot on the internet that they can fucking whinge about stuff mainly, innit? Or virtue signal.
Yeah. I want to burn a couch on my front lawn virtually. I'll do it on the internet.
Yeah. I'll play piano with your bollocks.
It's funny, actually. It's funny, actually. Talking about scamming them down where we're from in Huddersfield, I went up there the other week to a friend's birthday, and we drove up to Scammy Dam, actually, just to show my missus, the nipper. So you're in the middle of nowhere, and I was saying to my missus, we used to cycle from our house right up to Scammy and all the way around. And she's like, "What? All this way?" And I said, "Yeah." So we set off in the morning. I said, Did your mum ask where you were going? I said, "No, I didn't give a shit. You just went." And he came back when it was getting dark.
Yeah.
And I remember going, and we didn't even take any money or anything, or any water or anything. No. We were gone all day.
We cashed in the bottles, didn't you? Cash bottles.
We got that Thursday. We got that Thursday. We actually knocked on a farm's house and asked for some cups of water. So we were like, I really need a drink, like on the verge of fainting Thursday with no cash on us whatsoever.
Well, you knew what to do back in the day, though, didn't you? You knew you could do that. Now, I don't know. I guess you'd just die on this road.
You used to drink out of a stream and put it with diphtheria later.
Well, you pays your money, you take your chances.
Die on the road because your battery's gone on your phone.
Well, exactly. There is there's a lot of leaning on tech these days, isn't there? I think.
Well, there's all lives are controlled by it now, aren't there? Let's be fair. Most of us' life is controlled by tech, and
technology is great, though, isn't it? It's just if it's used.
I think as humans, we're always going to lean on something that's going to make our lives easier.
Yes,
we're always going to be attracted.
We love shortcuts.
Yeah. We do. Since whoever invented the mangle, and you didn't have to bash your clothes against some rocky outcrops on a river.
I think what's changed is that technology should be a tool that's used for certain things to hopefully improve your life or other people's lives, whereas the social media aspect of things, it's a game changer. It is a tool. When Facebook first started, you would have a few hundred friends, and it might be people you lost track of at school, or a family who were living abroad in another country and all that. And all of a sudden it's changed, and social media is a thing. You know, we have things called influencers now.
Do you think that's because too many people have access to it and it shouldn't really be for everyone? Technology's not for everyone.
I would love to not be on social media. The only reason I have it is for the podcast. I would love to just throw it away because, you know, I don't really use it for anything beneficial other than, you know, searching for news stories and videos and stuff for the podcast. If it weren't for that, I'd get rid of it.
You're a consumer, not a producer. I don't think I've posted anything on any social media network for ages.
No,
but
I've got a Facebook by default and a LinkedIn by default. I'm not interested. I don't go on them.
Facebook Marketplace is good for buying your shit, buying new tech.
I don't want to get involved and embroiled in that. Maybe I don't know what your guys, but I was in telecoms, and so we were selling phones in the early 90s, and so we, probably the protagonists really of all this nonsense that's going on now are part of it, but you didn't know then. You're in your 20s. You think it's exciting, and and it is like Chris said, the technology is fantastic. However, obviously, apart from the microwave stuff, I'll be careful what I say here, but the technology is great. It is good to carry a phone around with you. It is good to be able to go on the internet and look for information. But all of a sudden, now over the last 5-6 years, we're starting to wind it back in. We did a presentation, didn't we, Chris, on Rise Above a few months ago, called some research I'd done on young global leaders, and I talked about 10 companies, Amazon, Salesforce, Google, went all the way through these, Wikipedia, all the way through these companies, and all 10 were part of the young global leaders, Skype, YouTube, all of them were part of the young global leaders program, set them up, PayPal, and
in the 90s, that far?
No, the late 90s, 2000s, mainly. eBay as well. So we're all part of one program, and what came out of that program was all these tech companies that we were given the billions of dollars worth of technology for free to use.
And that was only 20 years ago when he started.
That was only 20 years ago.
So what I'm hearing is it's not too late, and I can join this club and become a bazillionaire in 20 years' time.
We might get a Jacob's Club biscuit. That's about it.
It's a big club.
I don't think we don't qualify. Well, for a start, you've probably got to sign the Fustian contract to get in to the club.
The Faustian bargain.
Yeah, you've got to sign that contract. That all the writing disappears as you're reading it.
And, but if you're already a Mason,
yeah. Well, maybe they're not all Masons, but it's one of those things where, you do get opportunity in business. I remember getting opportunities, and sometimes I thought they just don't feel right. That and you never knew what you were going to get into. Whether a set of financiers came to see your business or whatever it was, and they slowly but surely try and get into you, and they don't even know who they're working for. It's very compartmentalized. But these young global leaders, they were all of a certain religion, let's just say. All 90% of them were of a certain religion.
Buddhists.
So, yeah, Buddhists, all Buddhists. All for free love, man. And yeah, so I mean, we just did a recent podcast, the last one we did on the World Economic Forum, about the Board of Trustees. And then you start looking at the Board of Trustees as 30 on the Board of Trustees of the World Economic Forum.
I was listening to that the other day, and I had no idea about Benioff. David Benioff from one of the main show, the showrunner for Game of Thrones, and his cousin and his family history. I had no idea. It's fascinating.
It's interesting the nepotism that's involved in a lot of this stuff. I'm just going to do a presentation on Al Gore because he's a board of trustee member as well of the World Economic Forum. But I'm doing a bigger presentation on him on his own, and his family, and his dad was a senator, and so all these people, they're all intertwined in different businesses. I mean, he's now worth 400 million, but I don't actually think it's about the money for these people. I think they're working to some plan. The money makes them comfortable, but they're working to a plan. A lot of these people, it's not, I think from working class backgrounds, it's very easy to get roped into the fact that it's all about money. Yeah, it isn't. It's about the control and change of humanity. And that's got nothing to do with money, because most of them are involved in eugenics. Like a lot of those young global leaders that are part of the massive tech companies that we all use their free technology. they've all got eugenics businesses. Like Sergey Brin's ex-wife, she runs 23andMe or whatever it's called, the genetics DNA testing company, which meant to be the Google of genetics, collecting data, your DNA. So all these people are...
Also, we can't see past our generation, can we?
No.
They're intergenerational. Whatever plan they've got going is intergenerational.
Yeah.
It just keeps going. We can't see past
They're
those
planning
kids, can we?
several generations in front, aren't they, Chris? Or it seems that way.
Yeah,
because we've got the benefit of looking backwards now on all these people. And when you've got people, well, Boris Johnson's a prime example that's got a bloodline that goes back to the royal family. He's got an illegitimate royal family bloodline. So he's related to Prince Charles. I think he's his 12th cousin or something like that. Prince Charles. And Tony Blair is related to the royal family as well, illegitimately. And these are all easy to find out, you know. And also they go back to like Robert the Bruce, and I think Tony Blair was a direct descendant of Charlemagne.
Wow.
So these
that's like 1,000. That's like what, year 800?
But there's so many of these connections that it's impossible to say it's just a coincidence that all these people are in power, or a lot of these people, not all of them. I think some of them are stepping stones, Truss and maybe Theresa May, stepping stone type leaders. But a lot of these people that are in power are Trudeau's another good example. His grandfather, or from his mother's side, Sinclair, or Sanclairs, they came over with William the Conqueror, and they built the Rosslyn Chapel.
Yeah, I was going to say this sounds like a Dan Brown novel.
Well, yeah, it's Rosslyn Chapel was featured heavily in the Da Vinci Code because of William St. Clair, who became.
But they were
Sinclair.
part of writing of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. So the St. Clair family were part of the Scottish Rites writing, which then makes them Knights Templar by default. So, yeah,
that's right.
Trudeau in power is a descendant of them.
So where do the rest of us come into this?
We're under a boot somewhere, I think.
Just the peasants, aren't we?
Yeah. We must have a common ancestor somewhere.
We must have someone, yeah. Probably some cave drawing. But it is how these people are picked out, though. Because I mean, Chris picked up quite early on, and I'm sure a lot of other people have, that a lot of them do go to Oxford, but not everybody who goes to Oxford is some psycho. You know, 90% of them are decent people. You know, I'm sure they are. But they must watch these people, because they can't just know that they're of a certain bloodline. It can't just be an accident that David Cameron is also a cousin of the royal family. You know, and he's married into Astors, and he's married. He's a cousin of the Kardashians, and you know, all these things are intertwined. It just can't be an accident. It's impossible. I think I might be related to Kardashians. My chimp-ass is big enough.
It's mad, isn't it? I like it. I like the history side of it, when you can trace these families back to like really important events in like medieval history, or even earlier than that. Like you mentioned, the Sinclairs, and you know that ties in with the story of once the Templars were arrested in France, they fled up to Scotland to fight for Robert the Bruce against the English and all this sort of stuff. And it's like a lot of it's hard. A lot of it there's not like a lot of hard written evidence for. A lot of it you've got to sort of read between the lines and pick this up here from this part up from here and this bit up from here and try and build the narrative the best you can. But I just find it fascinating. But then like you get someone like Dan on, and he'll say it's all nonsense. Like history is a complete lie. It's like
no history before 1976.
No, it's like I don't know where to go. We've not done anything on Tartaria or anything like that.
Well, even if it is nonsense, right? The fact that you can relate these people to even if it's made up, even if Tony Blair's direct descendancy to Charlemagne or King Charles of Scotland is made up, they're actually putting it out there that it isn't made up. So it's sort of irrelevant.
So they want to sell it to you either way.
They want to sell it to you either way, yeah. You know, so the fact is that they're selling this propaganda and planting that seed in your brain that they're that important and more special than you plebs are, type of thing. You know?
Yeah, even if it's bullshit, doesn't matter, does it?
What's the alternative?
Well, it's a good question, isn't it? It's $1 million question. Is there an alternative? Why are we? I keep asking this. Why are people like us, you two and me and Chris and other people that are talking about all this stuff? Why are we doing this? Because we don't get any prizes for doing it.
Is it just raising it as an interesting point? Or
well, there is that. Yeah, there is that. But it's more to it, isn't it? Because the amount of grief from friends and people like that, which I'm sure you guys had over the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, it's pretty heavy at times, isn't it? People falling out with you.
Can be.
Neighbours not wanting to talk to you, like I get.
Dom's neighbours don't want to talk to him anymore.
No, they're scared.
Really?
But yeah, well, some of them are because I mean,
They're not scared. They just walk backwards when they see you.
Yeah. But because you want to they want to talk to me about bollocks, and I can't talk about bollocks. I say, well, that's just nonsense because of X, Y, Z, and I can never get into a conversation unless I've done the research. So it's that then causes them a problem because I can have a proper conversation about it. But because I always got in, I suppose it's a business brain. If you get into a meeting and you got caught with your trousers down, you got stiffed. So you always went in prepared type of thing. Suppose it's similar if you've been in the army or something like that.
Have you two backed away from like the traditional entertainment media and sport and all the rest of it?
Yeah, I don't watch TV at all anymore. I don't watch anything.
I watch some films. Watch a bit of. Yeah, I watch some. Films.
Have you seen Moonfall, Chris?
Yes, I have. Yeah. Get out. That's a rock show, isn't it?
Fucking wild, that film.
I did watch it. It's a film for you what's seen it. It's about a film about the moon about to crash into Earth. Do you know what? I put it on.
Seen it now. Yeah.
I put it on. I thought I'm going to watch 10 minutes of this just to see what the garbage is, and I actually ended up watching it all.
Yes.
Well, it's
Well
like
done,
As bad as it is.
I think that's part of the attraction. It's like it's that bad.
Yeah.
There's a few films like that they're so bad they suck you in. It's like it can't get any worse. This surely.
No.
I mean, I like watching them these days. I watch them to see what agendas I can see them and things like that. But I still do like a film. You know what I mean? I still like.
What's that one you were talking about earlier, Chris? I know it's not a film. Is it an Edward Bernays Netflix film?
Which one's that for?
The Star Wars thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put this by you two guys. Actually, I noticed in the new Star Wars, the Andor thing that's on.
If you watch one episode, I think.
Yeah, maybe Mr. been watching. It's all right. It's all right. But I pointed out to Dom the other day that the main protagonist in it, he looks a bit like Zelensky. He looks a lot like him, actually. You know the guy from Rogue One.
Diego
Cassian Andor.
Yeah, it's Diego Silva, isn't it? His name.
No, in the film he's called Cassian. Yeah.
I mean, the actors is.
Even I know that.
Wasn't that saber-toothed tiger in Ice Age?
Yes.
But I pointed out to Dom the other day that they look very much alike. And not only do they look alike, they kind of deliver the same kind of scowly presence that Zelensky does all the time. But then I watched the last one the other day. I mean, Mrs. watching it. And he's meant to be in disguise or something. Someone says, "Where are you from?" And no, sorry, what's your name? And he goes, "Kiev." Did he just say fucking Kiev? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. About 99% sure he did. I didn't rewind it, but Mrs. agreed with me.
Is his name not
Keith? His name was Keith. That's not his name. His name's Andor, and he was pretending to be someone else. And he goes, "Kiev." And I'm like, what? I mean, what does that even mean? The guy looks like him, and he's calling himself that. And he's also a bit of the rebel character, isn't he, in that show? And I was saying to Dom, I wonder, because in that show, in the film, he ends up dead, doesn't he? He sacrifices himself.
That's right, yeah.
For the Death Star plans. And I got thinking, I wonder if Zelensky is going to be some kind of martyr.
Yeah.
He's been drumming up for the last 6 months. I'm just talking, I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm just saying. Just something I observed, I thought it was a bit strange.
Yeah, if like...
I brought it with someone up.
If Kiev got nuked, like...
Yeah, predictive.
Well, or if he stopped something and died in the or whatever, and he was, the martyr of whatever, it wouldn't be surprising, would it? The way that they're selling that guy at the moment, that little green action man.
It's wild how he's like. Didn't they invite him to the Oscars and different things? He kept appearing on award ceremonies on big screens.
Eurovision,
Glastonbury.
Yeah, Glastonbury were on.
Yeah, was it Eurovision?
Was he there?
Yeah, I think he was.
I think he was.
Surely not.
I think he was.
I think he was. Yeah.
I remember two things from Eurovision: the Rasmus and Zelensky on video screen.
Give up.
And also that woman who played the piano with a knob, she nicked it off Zelensky because he did it first. Didn't it?
I'm gonna have to see
Dressed
this
in
knob
drag.
piano thing now.
Yeah, he did it
You've
first.
hyped it up. This
playing
is
with nabs,
social
didn't he?
media in
Yeah.
action.
Hello, London. This is Kiev calling. And the 12 points from Ukraine go to...
Oh, he didn't need the points. I think he was coming. He might
Oh, I thought he was going to be like the man in the studio
whatever.
dishing the points
I
out.
don't know. It might be a Mandela effect. This.
Didn't he?
be.
An Israeli tranny were on a few years
Dana
ago.
Dana.
Dana International, yeah.
Right.
I bet that's best part of 20 years ago, that.
Yeah.
Is it? Well, that's how long I
That guy
watched
with the
telly.
beard.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that he didn't have that wasn't the one with the beard, was it?
Yeah.
Dana International.
I think so, yeah.
Oh, I thought that was a more recent one. There's that
you
many.
think
I
of
just get
Brian
mixed up. Brian Blessed.
Gordon's alive.
Gordon's alive. It's funny you brought up.
Oh, it's in a sound bank.
I
somewhere.
haven't got Gordon's alive. No, but I've got him saying this.
Are you retarded?
Is that from Blackadder? I guess that, isn't it?
I think it
Is
must
it from
be.
Blackadder?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
Blackadder.
First one, yeah. It was the first one.
He was in that one, when he was captain, whatever he was.
He was his dad.
Class.
They don't make stuff like that anymore, like Blackadder, do they?
No.
No,
It's
you don't
gone.
need to do it because you can have women playing pianos with the penises.
Yeah.
Just give the people what they want, Dom.
Yeah. We're horrible. I sent that to Mark Devlin, and anyway, he said, "What the fuck have you sent me that for, Dom?"
Well, that's what I said to you. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Morning.
I wonder when it was written, the Andor thing. Because, I mean, it's only just started, hasn't it? Do you think it
a
takes
long
maybe
time ago?
in a galaxy far, far away? I mean, I'm guessing it takes like a year maybe to film it and
Yeah.
edit it.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
So that would be right.
You've got to think of before that, because we've got to do screenwriting.
Yeah.
We've got to get the financing. You know, you're probably 2 or 3 years of a project at least if it gets accepted straight away. haven't you?
But
They
if
shot
they
some in
really,
Morecambe.
if the Ukraine thing started first, I suppose they could slip it in, couldn't they? These days, if they really wanted to, but it just seemed odd.
But it's a bit like Slumdog Rishi Sewer Rat, isn't it? He, you know, last year,
Rashid Sunak.
yeah,
Rashid
him,
Sunak, yeah.
the Sewer Rat.
I mean, he's hardly a sewer rat, is he? He's worth 700 million or something.
Yeah.
Well, his father-in-law is in with Mad Dog Bollock Eyes.
We did a we called it out through research, didn't we? Fatty, that we thought Sunak was going to be prime minister, and then Truss got in, but it was only because he had a similar background to
Johnson,
but not background. But
story.
yeah, you could see how it'd been put in the media. The story had been created before he got in, not for Liz Truss, not for the other woman you said, Fatty,
Theresa May.
Theresa May, but you can see the story being planted over the years when you go through the background. And we were saying that, in fact, I did a picture of me and Dom, that picture you've got, and I did us looking sideways at Richie Sunak in the middle, as if about a year ago when we did the thing, didn't we? We did it for the podcast.
Yeah.
And well, there was a psychic route, but it's just so obvious when she's doing the research.
We put 2 pictures together though of Slumdog Millionaire and Rishi Sunak. They both had wingnut lugs, and looked exactly the same.
Again, was that predictive programming, just putting that image of that face in your mind, like the Zelensky thing we were just talking about? Is it just getting you used to looking at him as?
I mean, his genealogy.
That film was massive, actually, wasn't it? As well.
Yeah, well, his genealogy it's locked. I mean, you can't get past a certain date on his genealogy. So a lot of these people, again, some of the genealogy, like Genie and Ancestry, they're all owned by a lot of these. In fact, it's called the PayPal Mafia. A lot of them spun off and come out of PayPal and started up companies like Genie, which is like search genealogy and stuff. I forget the guy's name now, but he was part of the PayPal Mafia, they called him. And so a lot of these people, like Al Gore, you can only go back to a certain point in his genealogy as well, because they know if they allow you to go back, you're going to find something that they don't want you to see.
I remember when Sunak was doing the campaign against Truss, when it was them two that were going for the leadership, and there was a video surfaced of Rishi Sunak when he was about 18 or 19 being filmed for like a BBC documentary or something, and he was saying about how he's nowhere, I have friends from all kinds of backgrounds, not working class backgrounds, but and so he's had some media exposure 20 years ago. I mean, is that a coincidence, or was he sort of, as someone that had been having an eye on him for probably since he went to university, to sort of groom him for this position? You don't know.
Would it shock you if he had some sort of royal Raj genealogy? It wouldn't surprise me that. And obviously the royal family were out there planting seeds, or Baron this and Earl that at that particular time. These could be, again, illegitimate children. I use the word could because I don't know, but there's a possibility that he is a bloodline that we don't know about.
Do you know it's about his mum and dad? Were they are they first generation immigrants?
They were both doctors. They came from India, then they went to Africa. I think it was Zimbabwe.
He had a pharmacy, didn't he, over here?
Yeah. Well, the mother, I think, either the mother ran a pharmacy or the dad were a doctor and the mother ran farms. One of the two. So they were into arm spearing everybody back then. So it was nothing new, really. So they were first sort of generation over here, from what I could find. But then he went to Stanford and met his wife now. I forgot the name now. What's she called? But
the
Stanford University is a hothouse for CIA. That's not to say he's part of the CIA, but it was probably set up, funded by CSA going back in time. Through some of the research that I did, one of the guys, Shockley, and I forget the guy's name, but they were. But I think a third of all the funding goes through Stanford, i.e., from a technology point of view in the US. And it's the equivalent, them companies that they formed with the investment from that is equivalent to being 10th biggest country in revenue.
The main majority of Sunak's money is from Infosys via his wife. And
his wife
has a 0.1% share in Infosys. Now, I've got a daughter, and I certainly would want to leave her more than 0.1% of my wealth when I can't get it. It's a bit stingy.
But I mean,
maybe she's managed to get by on such a small pittance.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? But the father obviously only owns a small portion of that. There are 2 or 3 of them that set it up. And he's known as the Bill Gates of India.
Wow, what a title.
Yeah, and he was, exactly. And he was the chairman of, I think it was 2005 World Economic Forum.
I wonder if I'm the someone of somewhere.
What
who would it be?
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
Well, answers on the chat.
God, the Bill Gates of India. Well, Bill Gates isn't that welcome in India anymore, is he? So I guess someone had to take that role.
Yeah. But it's strange. Again, Rishi Sunak's prime example, isn't it? Is how it's sort of predicted in his story. I think one of his school friends they wrote a book about him. This was before all this nonsense came about, and it was Baron Ashcroft, who's a Belize businessman, a British Belize businessman, who is a tax avoidance because he lives in Belize now. So he wrote a book about Rishi Sunak when he was the Chancellor. So the Chancellor collects the taxes, and he's having an autobiography written by a tax avoidance billionaire. You couldn't even make this shit up, could you?
Yeah, it's sophisticated, isn't it?
And it's an official book as well. And it's available at all good Oxfam shops now, I think.
It's probably on Phil's shelf. He's got all of them, I think. All the books.
More to the point, right? I mean, you could kind of understand someone reading a Richie Sunak book now. Brood have read it before.
What's it? Didn't Liz Truss
fancy a holiday book? Shall I pick up that Richie Sunak?
Shall I read Rishi Sunak's life story?
God. Yeah, it'd be a long.
But in that book,
ride.
one of his school friends said the teachers used to say that Rishi Sunak will probably be prime minister, and it's ridiculous things like that. I mean, how many? I don't know where you guys went to school, but nobody ever said that at my fucking school. I think one of the things they probably said was
he'll end up in prison.
Yeah, that'd be more fitting, wouldn't it? I don't think we had any prime ministerial candidates at our school, did we, Ben?
I don't know. We might have had 1 or 2 Tory MP candidates.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 Tory. Yeah.
No, I think Labour are just as bad, aren't they? I mean, Keir Starboy, now trying to put himself out there as this manly man who used to get into fights and stuff like that. I mean, can you imagine him at school? I mean, he's going to get
with that slightly nasally voice.
Yeah.
I'll see you outside. Come on outside.
It's weird with kids. He's almost pushing an open door now. Well, like if the polls are to be believed, if there's a GE tomorrow, Labour would be a shoo-in. So it's
and he's that
must
bad,
be weird for him because
he's
the weakest Labour leader. I think everyone will agree that they've had for a long time. But he's looking more and more likely to kind of fall into a PM job. And will he do a good job? I don't know.
But they've got 2 years, haven't they, before he probably might come in. Since Gordon Cross Eyes Leeds Bradford Eyes Brown got in, the last, so Brown, Cameron, May, Johnson, Truss, Sunakers, when they've come into power, they weren't voted in. So
like the last one.
Cameron was a hung parliament, so he needed the Liberals and the
coalition,
Ireland, the Irish or whatever, and the Polish to help him out, and whoever else were there, and so he won an election after that, and so did Johnson. But initially, they were in without being voted in.
Yeah, Harpar's done.
Yeah. So Starman might not even get in, might he?
A lot can happen in 2 years, man. And like they say, a week's a long time in politics. Never mind 2 years. It's like who knows?
It doesn't make any difference, does it? It's just a fucking pantomime anyway.
Oh, I'm the same. I'm like left wing, right wing. It's the same frigging bird. It doesn't matter.
It'll all be forgotten. When it leaves the news cycle, no one will remember all this kerfuffle we've had in the last.
We will.
3 months.
They just ramp. I think they just ramp it up for a distraction when they need a little distraction.
Yes, they do.
Whatever. Yeah.
I mean, you can't tell me out of 600 and our 30 odd MPs there are out there, not one of them thought like we did that it were all nonsense, right? You can't tell me that because the law of averages says that that's just not possible.
Yeah, there'll be a handful.
There's one. There's one or two. We played the clips from that Tory backbencher.
What's his name?
I've forgotten his name.
The grey-haired guy. He was losing the plot, wasn't he?
There's the grey-haired guy. Yeah. Desmond Swain.
Yeah, Swain.
Desmond Swain.
But even he got jib-jabbed. So I mean,
yeah. There was another guy though. He was on Unheard as well. He got interviewed for Unheard. Yeah, Matt Apocalypse is saying Desmond Swain. But there was another guy who was really sort of quite well spoken, talking about the lockdowns and like the effects they were going to have over the next couple of years. I remember playing a clip of him, but it's such a minority, you see.
It was
Bruce Swain.
Bruce Swain.
Yeah, Bruce Swain. Yeah.
Bruce Weinstein.
Yeah. Yeah. So none of them actually have got any kahunas to stand up properly and say what's happened, really what's happened, because they know what would happen to them. They just get ostracised, booted out of the party, so they wouldn't be able to talk. So it's a blunt instrument, isn't it? Really, the Parliament is not for us.
They pretty much just passed it off to the sage. They let the scientific committee make the recommendations, and that is a great fall guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's the MPs who are responsible to us. Apparently, that's how it's supposed to work. Whatever.
Yeah.
But
all
we're
the main
just
players as well.
We're just following the science. We're following the science, and whatever the scientists said, they'll do. And that's how we got here in the first place with that frigging Imperial College. Jesus Christ, that make-believe computer. What do they call it?
Yeah.
Computer model. Yeah, 500,000 to 520,000 deaths if we don't do anything. And the infection fatality rate will be 0.9%.
Was it like
absolute
a war game level 1980s computer
Atari,
with a green screen?
Yeah.
And he has such a great track record as well, Ferguson, with swine flu and bird flu and everything else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah. I mean, we're from a farm. Our dad we were brought up on a farm, it's the sheep farm. So we had sheep. So we were our dad were a butcher. Sorry for you vegans out there, but
we were.
Yeah, we were. but we had sheep. Well, we had cows as well, but mainly sheep. And so the foot and mouth thing, we saw it firsthand what they did. You know, we saw the burning of all these sheep for no reason whatsoever. And they were basically buying sheep off the farmers at a higher cost than what they were worth. So obviously tight Yorkshire farmers and farmers around that are normally quite shrewd, let's just say, would not hesitate to sell them. And that's basically what they did with the payouts, weren't it? Where during lockdown, we'll give you furlough money to stay off work, and nobody argued just because it was
free money gets the ball rolling, doesn't it?
Yes,
that's what, like the swine flu. It gets whatever they want to happen into motion. And
yes,
that was the stamping down of farms, wasn't it? And
well, it was the second part. The BSE was the first part, wasn't it?
Yeah,
BSE.
Yeah,
the BSE was the first part, which I mean that was just nonsense as well. But you know, the whole thing is set up to control. I mean, they started it with animals, and then it's us. So what do they think of us?
I mean, do you remember they used to have to dip your feet in disinfectant?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
When you went through an airport, you had to walk through like a little puddle of disinfectant.
Well, it was foot and mouth, wasn't it? Yeah.
For foot and mouth,
Yeah, it was like when you got to swimming baths.
Yeah,
that
little toxic,
that little trough. Yeah,
that
you could dig your feet in.
stinking trough of water.
It's good for you. It's good for you.
It's got with skeleton feet.
Yeah, 3-inch of pubes and piss. And then you jumped in 50-50 pool. 50% water, 50% piss, and there were bits of bread floating in it and stuff.
Stool floating at bottom.
Yeah.
1970s, 80s.
Didn't stop verrucas though, did it?
No.
Chlorine didn't stop verrucas. Maybe it causes them. But nobody's ever thought of that.
Went through the same pit, didn't they?
Yeah. Better ring Susan Mickey up. She might do.
Oh God! It started on a Christ, literally a communist.
Where's she? A champagne communist as well.
Oh, she's got a new role at the WHO.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Now she's psychoanalyzing the whole world instead of just the UK.
It was behavioural, wasn't it?
She was part of. She was part of SAGE and Independent Save. Was she part of the Behavioural Insights team as well?
She was, yeah.
Because the Behavioural Insights team, I think, is technically independent of government, although they work it out of Whitehall. I think the.
Well, it was a spin-off from the Nudge Unit.
Well, I thought the Nudge Unit was a colloquial name for the Behavioural Insights team.
Well, no, because the Nudge Unit now, the government made it into a company rather than a government agency. So now they've sold it around the world.
Yeah,
so,
we've exported it everywhere.
Yeah, we've exported it everywhere.
You're welcome.
But it was part of... a lot of these people work for the intelligence agencies as well. So a lot of it was to do with intelligence as well. I mean, Susan Mickey, her family, they sold a Picasso for 50 million.
Really?
Yeah. Her granddad was Baron, I forget his name now, anyway, from her mother's side. So all these people are, and her husband now, he works for he's a professor of psychology, apparently to help people stop smoking, etc. But he's been paid by all the normal pharma companies, Merck, Pfizer, I think. It's all on his website. But he's got no conflict of interest. Neither does she.
She crumbled though, didn't she, Mickey, when she got drilled by the hard-hitting Richard Medler?
Oh, Richard Medler. Double bicep Richard Medler.
I don't think she even broke a sweat, did she?
No.
Oh, I remember when she was on that. I think it was Jeremy Vine on Channel 5 when she was saying about, we're going to keep social distance. How long should we keep social distancing for? I don't know, maybe forever.
Yeah, I remember.
God.
I wonder what planet, did these people, does she actually believe that?
Oh, she said it with a smile on her face. She meant it.
Yeah, she was smiling.
She's a communist. She was known as Stalin's nanny at university. That's what they called her, Stalin's nanny.
How
old is she?
How old is she? Fucking hell. She's been dead 70 years.
She is Marty McFly. Mickey McFly. Yeah. But she's her family, she goes back right into sort of like the baronesses and things like that. And I think her mum and dad worked on the Enigma code.
At Bletchley Park.
At Bletchley Park.
I remember this, I remember this. It was her dad.
Yeah. And her mother.
Was it mum as well?
Yeah.
I remember
and
looking
they mysteriously died in a car crash in their 80s.
Not laughing at someone dead.
Yeah. They've been divorced for a long time as well, and they were going to some meeting somewhere, and car came off road. Both died.
In the 80s or in their 80s?
In their 80s.
in the 80s as well.
I think it was in the 90s, in the 1990s. Yeah,
It's getting confusing.
I'm confused. Yeah.
I wonder how. Well, this is what's interesting to me, because she's a raving communist, yet she comes from wealth.
Well, they're not communists, are they? They're idealists, aren't they? It's an ideology. It's not
Marxist.
from any sort of reality. You know, they want the communists because they want to control us, if you like. But they don't want to be part of the controlled.
Oh no, that's the best bit about communism, isn't it? If you're at the top, it's great.
Yeah.
You get everything. You get so much. You're just spoiled, aren't you? If you're at the top of a communist society, it's the place to be.
Yeah.
It's just if you end up in the gulag, you're in trouble. I wonder if they'll set one up in like Huddersfield or Lancashire.
It already is a gulag, isn't it?
Even if you're at the top, you're not safe. Do you see that guy get strong-armed out of the Chinese Communist Party convention this week? The ex-leader of China, Pre-Chi.
I saw this.
Yeah,
go on, Ben. I saw the snippet. I didn't know what the story was.
Yeah, he was messing with some papers or something. Didn't agree with something. You don't even know from the video, but then he's next to Chi, and Chi like just glances over off screen, and some strong men come, not in stripy tops with like ton weights.
March him out.
Yeah.
When you've got that much power at your disposal, you've got to be so careful and paranoid because you've got this massive target on your back. Everyone wants your position.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Stalin. There was that famous photo, isn't it, where there's the photo of him with his mate, and then the photo gets changed and his mate's disappeared. It would just disappear people who got too close. It was like this paranoia, like you're getting a bit too popular, you're getting a bit too powerful. You've got to go.
It's interesting you say that because you can see the same sort of things with Putin over the last 20 years.
Yeah, but Putin is Hitler.
I keep forgetting. But
Apparently,
I don't see that from our leaders. I'm sure Truss wasn't looking over his shoulder. Does that not make you think that they don't hold the power?
No, they don't. They're puppets. That's what I mean. It's a different situation. We live in like it's more like corporate fascism than a democracy. The people at the top of the political sphere, they're yes men. They're nodding dogs.
Truss has been booted out after 45 days. What is it? 120 grand a year.
Yeah, she
bodyguards.
She upset the markets. And that was it.
Yeah.
You're gone.
Yeah, she was brought in to do that. But she was brought in to do a job, and a bit like Kwasi Crazy Kwarteng that came in, who was part of the investment banking fraternity before he got into politics. So I think he worked for Goldman Sachs for quite a while. So he was chairman of Le Circle. I don't know if you've done any research on Le Circle. Le Circle is a secret group. Nadeem Zahawi was chairman before him. Rory Stewart. It was set up after World War II as a clandestine group, secret meetings, a bit like the Council on Foreign Relations, that type of thing. And Le Circle's more though because it can be more militaristic,
bit more Spectre stroke.
Yeah, a bit more stroke Spectre. Yeah. But
now I understand what's going on.
But Kwasi Kwarteng was funded by Le Circle to a lot of his meetings in his early days as an MP, and he became apparently chairman of Le Circle. So, these people are working for other forces behind the scene. So they come in, they're the sacrificial lambs, make this change, markets will drop, we'll make billions out of that, then you're gone.
It's interesting you mentioned Nadeem Zahawi because he was a founder of the ONS, I think, as well, which has been heavily relied upon over the last couple of years. Yeah,
well, I don't know if he was a founder, but he certainly was part of it. He was founder of YouGov.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, YouGov.
It became quite apparent, though, didn't it, Fi, that he had more clout than Johnson.
Yeah, it seemed to have. It definitely seemed to have. But again, he's chairman of the Circle, so what you find is, yeah.
The Circle seemed more clout, to have more clout than the British Prime Minister.
Well, when you think about it, that's like let's just say you were a group of people that were in a secret group at Oxford, let's just say, and you go into the army, and you've got 5 people within that whatever regiment. Sorry for any people who've been in the army, I don't understand it, but anyway. And you've got a general who was in that group and a sergeant, but the sergeant was actually higher up than the general.
Oh, in the
group.
Society, yeah.
Yeah. So he actually takes orders from the sergeant. And so similar thing to Zahawi, that he was. If you think about why was he in all those different jobs, he was there for the arm spear rollout. He was part of it,
So, they could rely on him.
They could rely on him to come in and deliver a job. And the research that I did on Zahawi, his grandfather was the governor of the Bank of Iraq. So the Central Bank of Iraq, his grandfather was the governor of that.
No, didn't he come over as a poor immigrant family?
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, he did, yeah.
Yeah,
on a boat,
that's the story.
His dad was also the boss
that's the story that's portrayed in the media. That I'm a poor immigrant from Iraq.
That's what his
made good.
biography will say.
Yeah.
So I think he started a t-shirt company, didn't he?
Started a t-shirt company and made a few t-shirts. I heart Zahawi.
Bank of Iraq.
Well, that's interesting. If his dad was the bank of it, because I'm guessing Zahawi's
granddad.
Oh, right. So say Zahawi's about 55 or something. So his granddad would be. When would how old would his granddad be? Say 110, so 1920. So he was probably around after the Second World War then.
Just after that, I think it was the 50s. He was in. I have to get my notes up.
The thing it was the British government that drew the lines on the map.
I was working for the British government
after the Second World War to form Iraq. So I'm wondering if his granddad then had some connections to the British government at that time.
And from what I could discern,
how he got
was buried in Israel.
Naturally,
he was buried in Israel because, Anyway, I'm not going to go into that, but work that one out. So a lot of these things, like Van Tampon, another one, Van Tampon. He was his grandfather.
Baron Greenback, isn't it?
Yeah. I think he was his grandfather or his father, one of the two. I think his grandfather was Prime Minister of Thailand.
Wow.
Or president, but anyway, one of the two. So, and then his uncle was a general in the Thai army, but he was a general, I think, in the French army.
Vietnam?
It might be Vietnam. It's Vietnam, not Thailand.
He sold everyone under the bus, didn't he? Sold his whole nation under the bus.
But he was working for all the pharma companies, all the well-known ones that we've just had to listen to for the last 3 years, and then he comes into that role, saying he's got no conflicts of interest, just like Valance. Valance's last paycheck at GSK was 1.2 million. And then he took that government job at 180 grand a year. Because that's what you're doing, it. Just take £1 million pay cut.
Yeah, I found it too stressful.
I thought he had a chunk of Pfizer as well, didn't he? Sell that during the the divot.
But it's like Rishi the divot. It's like Rishi Sunak. He worked for Sir Chris Hon, and Chris Hon has an investment company, and a spin-off from that, he worked for a company called, I forgot the name now. Anyway, a company that was the earliest investor in Moderna.
Right.
So Rishi Sunak worked for this Philomena Partners or something like that, because we were saying Philomena was part of the Alistair Crowley stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
It was called something
Thelema.
Thelema. It might be a Thelema part. Anyway, they were the early investors, or one of the early investors into Moderna, along with AstraZeneca weapons that kill. They own part of Moderna as well.
Oh, do they? I tell you what, I wish I'd bought some of that, like in 2019.
Yeah, I wish I had it all.
Yeah.
It's the first product they've ever got into the market.
That, strange that. So you've got Chancellor of Exchequer who's borrowing 500 billion, was an early investor into Moderna that's buying Moderna jib jabs.
You're crazy
conspiracy. I know, I'm just a nutter. Nothing to see here. Let's vote him in as Prime Minister. Bugger, he has been. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's wild, isn't it?
What's the point of it all?
It's the Game of Thrones, man. You win or you die.
But it's just like...
It's pathetic, isn't it? Because it is pathetic, isn't it? To us, it's pointless because, whether you're in... I've been in business... you don't have to have your foot on everybody's throat to sell something. It's just we're all traders in different ways. That was what we're doing now. I suppose we're trading in some way, but you don't have to be like that, do you? You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. There's a different plan, isn't there? We're not part of that plan, that club that you guys were talking about. We're not part of that, are we? So I equate it to, if you walk across a field and you don't look under your shoe thinking how many beetles or spiders have I just killed by walking across that field. and that's how they view us.
Or like you say, like in that Coming to America thing, when they do the bet for a $1.
No, it's trading places.
Trading places. Sorry, Coming to America.
The dollar bet.
And they destroy everyone's lives just for their dollar bet.
Yeah.
Is it like that? Is that what it is?
It's a game. It's just a game. It's a game to them. It's like you said, like the money's no object. Once you're a billionaire, that's fine. It becomes a game of power and control after that, and how much influence you can exert on other people. Because I maintain that majority of the people in these positions of power have no empathy. They're psychopaths. They don't give a shit about any of us.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've been in business meetings with people like that. They just look through you.
Yeah.
They're looking for, I just want to get up and go. Or I did do in the time there. But just
like imagine their egos, the people who actually organise all this shit. The infighting must be phenomenal as well, mustn't it? Hence why you see like Liz Truss vanish or whatever. They must infight and squabble between themselves because their egos are so big.
Yeah.
Like Game of Thrones.
I'd love to be on a fly in the wall at like a G7 meeting.
Yeah. I reckon they'll just sit in a chair. Don't move.
You get recharged.
In fact, if they've created
tinfoil hat,
if they've created automatons, if they've created automatons, I reckon first one is Richie Sunak. He looks like a robot to me. He's got
the Maybot. The Maybot must have been the prototype.
Like the Zuckerberg. Is he the new version? You know, the Mark II or something? I don't know.
Mark II Zuckerberg.
No, I'll tell you, it is. Did you see this week? I think
by Martel. Yeah.
I think. Did you see this Katy Perry video? Yeah.
I saw that.
Stretch your eyes.
What's his face? What the hell is that? It's more the point that she touched your side of the face and it opens.
I don't know what's going on there.
Well, have you guys watched any Mike Williams stuff?
Mike Williams.
He does all the Paul is Dead stuff. He's an American guy. Does some fantastic research.
I'm just watching that today.
Now, whether you want to believe that Paul McCartney into ears or not, but there's certainly some compelling evidence to say that something strange has gone on in some, especially with the Beatles' writings of certain. They just didn't have time to write them when he's gone through.
The Billy Shears. Oh, it's Billy Shears.
Yeah, but even if you put that to one side and you don't want to get involved in that, you think Paul McCartney's alive or dead. But even the Beatles were a manufactured pop group. So when we're looking at things going back to Parliament and what you're saying is what's the point? Everything's manufactured. It's like a simulation. Everything's not what we think it is. And that's I mean, you guys probably get that with some guests that come on as well, where you think, everything we talk about is pointless, like you've just said, Ben. There's no, unless it isn't pointless and we don't know. Is it an energy gathering? And the new part now is data gathering, and that's how they're going to get us energy. Like the Monsters Inc. paradigm, where they're draining people of energy by scaring them. Because we live in that traumatic world where they're terrifying us. Is that what it is? Is that we're just in this energy drain?
Energy vampires.
Yeah.
It's a dark It's a dark channel to go down. That isn't it? It scares me because I don't rule any of that stuff out.
No, but
I'm open-minded to all of it. But
yeah.
Do they really benefit? Do they benefit from seeing the terror and the fear and the anxiety that they've wreaked on our country across the entire world for the last 2.5 years? Did they get off on it? Did they get a fucking boner watching that? Say, I did that. Look at these fucking stupid idiots shitting themselves won't leave their houses because of our clever media message.
3 masks on and some gloves while they're driving.
I bet a lot of them get a fucking boner off of it.
Yeah,
but if they are energy vampires now, if they've always been energy vampires, now all they have to do is put a news story out and then just see the reaction on social medias and wherever, and they could just sit there with a boner for 2 hours, couldn't they?
Easy instant.
You know what I mean? Maybe they've got
and play a xylophone with it.
Yeah. You don't have to wait for it to listen to people complaining. It's instant because everyone loves complaining now, don't they, about everything?
I suffer for that. I'm trying to be more. Like less black-pilled and more optimistic and more happy on the podcast. And
watching Netflix.
I think it's definitely helped. I think it's definitely got better over the last 6 months because we used to do COVID news every week.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Every week we would have a section on COVID news on the latest. What's the batshit thing that came out this week? And
you had to talk about it though, didn't you? Well,
If we didn't, nobody would they?
No,
if we weren't talking about it, people like us, nobody would talk. It just wouldn't.
No.
Many podcasters.
I've brought this up in our podcast. Do you not find it weird out in the real world how, although it's, whatever, no one wants to talk about the last 2 years. It's like a non-discussable subject.
I think a lot of people
occasionally,
are... Sorry, go on,
occasionally people will go, yeah, during lockdown. And that's like it, really. There's no discussion as to what's just happened at all.
Yeah.
Nah.
I think a lot of people are probably embarrassed or ashamed.
I agree. Yeah.
And I can understand that. I can empathise with that. It's difficult. I wonder how much is going to come out, how much will be allowed to come out and how much will be they'll backtrack. We're seeing this, oh God, we're going down the black road again, but about excess deaths at 16% across Europe and Australia. And it's like, where's this coming from? Oh, well, maybe we fucked up massively a couple of years ago. Yeah. Are we going to start recognizing, and most importantly, are we going to say never again? Or are they going to pile it on again? I mean, obviously, monkeypox didn't work. They'll have to think of something better than that.
Yeah, that vanished, that, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it's weird. What happened to monkeypox?
I think it was a one-trick pony. Personally, it was a one-trick pony. I think the monkeypox and all the other nonsense is just there to say, if you don't do as you're told, we'll bring some more stuff out for you. But I think that whatever that show was for 2 years, 3 years, and it's still sort of dwindling on now. I think Spain just opened up. France opened up recently to holidaymakers. Italy opened up recently. So all these places are still partially locked down. And so people just accept that lockdown during lockdown. Like it was a fucking party. During lockdown, it's like, no.
It's in the history books now, though, isn't it? They've got all the pictures and all the history there. Yeah. So you can look back in 10 years and see it as the massive drama it was when everyone's died. You know what I mean? They've got all the numbers they needed.
Well,
to show the future generations.
Did you ever look into that woman who started the clap for carers Thursday night Sealfest? Did you ever look into her?
I did start looking into her, but I can't remember now what the outcome of that was.
I remember hearing something about her, but I can't remember what was it.
She was some sort of Dutch. Anyway,
she had a big background in PR,
marketing,
campaigning. It's like we think that this thing is like an organic thing that just springs out of nowhere, and it's like absolute bullshit. This was part of the plan. I'm sure the behavioural insights team were right behind that. They picked.
They were all over it. They spent 400 million propagandising us.
If it hadn't been picked up by the media, it'd just be one crazy woman standing outside her house.
Everyone shouting.
Exactly, yeah.
Our Chris has a good story. Our Chris has a good story where they're all banging pots and pans outside his house, and he heard one of the neighbours say, "They're outside, them in that house."
Next door's not banging the pots and pans.
Wow.
My fuck.
Yeah.
Hey,
I don't think they did it week after.
That a lot of people buckle to that pressure. The pressure of the neighbours. What if my neighbours don't see? What will my neighbours think about me if I'm not clapping?
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah,
I'm happy to be that guy.
I was that guy. I was that guy who's like,
I'll get a bigger pot.
I wonder if there's some like a pot wars. Like who can make the most noise on the street. Fucking hell, man.
I mean, when you think back though, Chris, right, to that April time, going into summer, and it was getting warm, and you see people, because we live in the middle of nowhere here, see people walking past the house they'd never seen before that live locally, and just people, because they had the free hour to walk around the prison yard type of thing. And you think, what? This is what I mean. It's like, people couldn't come round to your house. I mean, people still come round to my house. Fuck them. But
I only disobeyed one rule, and that was, I only obeyed one rule. And that was we were going to London to see Mrs.'s family, and I didn't want to go because I actually thought they were going to have roadblocks out. They were drilling over them, and I kind of regretted it after because I thought we should have just done it. But it got to that point. I thought, and we got Nipper in the car. I didn't want to drive and have a look.
You didn't want the hassle confrontation.
So I didn't want to go away to London.
But my daughter lives in
that one.
My daughter lives in Sale, so every weekend without miss. Now she's 17 now, but every weekend I've been and picked her up, and I went every weekend, and never had a minute.
I was going to say, that was funny though. We talked about this at the time when they were clapping pots and pans for the nurses, and me and Dom had this discussion. We were saying they're going to get thrown under the bus because, like the 9/11 heroes, first arrivers and all
first
that
responders,
crap, we were saying at some point they're going to get thrown under the bus, and they did, didn't they? They got told if they didn't get the
magic juice,
sacked.
Yeah.
They get sacked.
I felt sorry for him. Because, they should never have been put in that position. They did it with the care workers first, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then they moved on to the NHS staff. And, that was a really, that was a dark time for me. And they brought in for nightclubs and stuff like that. And I was resigned to the fact, I guess that's it. I guess I'm never going to a nightclub again. I'm not,
I never thought I'd go to cinema again. I never thought
I'd resigned to all of it. Not going on holiday,
not going abroad,
not to a restaurant, not doing whatever. And then, I'd accepted it. I weren't going to do any of that nonsense again.
That's weird, Chris. You brought up the roadblocks because I noticed that because I was out and about. I was driving about during the lockdowns, and the way they blocked roads off, like in just normal streets.
Yeah, in the towns, it was that was weird. I drove to Bristol in the lockdown,
right?
And it was one of the most pleasant driving experiences I've ever had.
It was fantastic. Do you know what it reminded me of? The day of Princess Diana's funeral. I remember when we drove down to Cornwall, and the roads were just empty.
I was working in care homes, and I'm a chef by trade, and I was working in a few care homes because it's the only work I could get. I was working as a freelance chef, and I was driving from here 10 miles, and when it first started, I didn't see one car. That was the creepiest thing. Like Twilight Zone,
28 days later.
In an Astra.
Yeah.
It was bizarre, man. It was really weird. And that went on for weeks. Well, through the whole thing, to be fair. Before I even saw a car on the street. I saw one or two, but nothing. It was weird, man.
It was great, man. Weird. And then when I got to Specsavers, I could go straight in, and he saw me straight away.
Have you guys noticed any, any effects close in your? It's like close people of the jib jabs. I mean, we talk, don't we? Because you hear all these stories about people, and on another world of mine. Me and my wife run a natural health clinic, so we have nurses that work there, and so they were under pressure to have the jabs. And unfortunately they held off. But we see a lot of people coming in that have been damaged.
Wow,
They call it long coat divok.
I've got a couple of relatives. But there's no way of proving it, man. That's the thing.
No.
Yeah.
It's like...
And they won't listen anyway, would they? They won't listen anyway, most of them.
I'd never bring it up because it's not worth it. What are you going to gain?
Nothing.
What are you going to
gain? Terrify them. It's terrifying more.
Because one issue that was talked about with the magic juice was reactivation of things like, not herpes, the other one, shingles.
Oh, yeah.
Shingles. Yeah. And so that was something that happened to... I don't like getting into like the personal medical stuff, and what do you gain from it? It's like the thing is, it's been done now. It's done.
It's too late, isn't it?
The damage, whatever it is, however bad it'll be or not bad, I don't know. But the damage is done, so I've let that ship sail for me. It's like I did what I could at the time.
Yeah,
just putting information out. Just
what more could you do? What more could you do?
Not going to browbeat people. It's like,
I used to watch a lot of sport. I don't know about you guys, but I watched a lot of sport. And if anybody watches a lot of sport, they will know if they go to games or watch on TV, there would nobody keeling over before all this started, right? None. And there's two things that's happened. Obviously, the arm spears have happened, and also the turning on of the next technology. I won't mention it, but the new towers. And so there's a correlation, I think, between those two, because it happened at exactly the same time that we were kept in. I don't know if you've read a book by a guy called Arthur Thirstenberg, right name that. Chris has just got it, I haven't read it yet because it's about it's a really big book, and he's called Invisible Rainbow, and I advise anybody to read that because he documents electricity and obviously microwave technology.
That's I guess the rainbow's electromagnetic spectrum, is it?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. It's I can't say it's a fantastic read, it's well written, but it's a terrifying read if you like. And I was in
not John Grisham.
No, it's not John Grisham, Innocent Man, whatever. But I was in telecoms, and I used to read reports, and I was telling my business partner at the time that I think we might be selling future cigarettes to people here. Because this was in early 2000s, because you were seeing reports from T-Mobile saying, I remember reading an Irish one, that they admitted that it were going to affect, these are the words they used, affect 3 to 5% of the population. They never told you how they were going to affect.
I talked to Sheryl Crow, that singer. She's well into that. She thinks that she had issues in her
She's
brain.
got Lyme disease, as Sheryl Crow, I think. Sheryl Crow.
Is it Lyme disease she's got as well?
I think so. It's because I've got Lyme disease. That's why we set a natural health clinic up.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think she has. There's a few of them, these singers, but whether it is Lyme disease, I won't get into all that.
What did she say?
Total show on its own.
What is she saying? Is she's
talking out about a lot of stuff, isn't she?
Right.
Yeah, she got lambasted a little bit, didn't she? I think. Yeah.
Because I think she sort of tagged her brain. I think was it a brain tumor or brain aneurysm or something like that.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Mobile phones. Because they had to have SAR ratings, didn't they, for a while? And there was a big... You could buy like little stickers on the back for stick on your back of your phones to reduce the microwave radiation or something.
I don't think
the early days of the phones. I think they never worked.
No,
probably worked better than the pendant some guy tried to sell me in Glastonbury Market a few years ago against 5G.
Don't not Shungite.
I know, Shungite.
Shungite, man. Hey, it's not a falchion bargain. It's Pascal's wager.
Well, yeah. I mean, what have you got to lose?
What have you got to lose? Give it a go.
Yeah.
Shungite insoles.
Hey, we've blown over an hour already, champs.
We generally have that effect, because that's why we end up doing about 3 hours, me and Chris. So just yap away. Because what I said to Chris before we started was, we should talk for hours on phone, because we were in Cambridge and what have you. I said,
not a mobile phone, surely.
We should be recording this. Yeah, not to my head anyway. I always try and use it on loudspeaker now.
Is that why I see people in cities walking around with their phones like that?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you use your phone? It's not like that, surely.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people are using them like that now, aren't they? Not putting it to their head.
I just thought they were
I've got a brick phone. I had a smartphone. I've got a brick phone now, but when I had a smartphone, it used to give me a headache down that's the side of my head, whichever side of my head I use it on.
Well, you think about a lot of these pop stars and what have you, they're using sort of like microwave technology, mobile mics, aren't they?
Wireless headsets.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry, yeah. I mean, that's obviously... Well, she's a fembot, though. She just needs a firmware update, I think, Katy Perry.
The Katy Perry thing, the reason we're talking about Mike Williams, I remember now, is because he's just done a story about... he had a lady on there saying that Paul McCartney's got a glass eye. Now, it sounds a bit wacky, but you need to listen to it, right?
I just watched it today.
She's a great title for a book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Paul McCartney's got a glass eye. Anyway, but she's got a glass eye, so she knows the movements of so she understands what movements are. So it's not like she's talking blindly, but it's,
It's very convincing.
Anyway, you need to listen
put it
to
that
it.
way.
It's fairly convincing when she shows you that his right eye. I mean, I've got a lazy left eye. Christian keeps drawing my eyes helter fucking skelter. But,
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't do that. No, his nostrils are bigger than mine, though.
Yeah, but
anyway,
when he puts a piece when he splits him in half, you can see clearly one of his eyes is going Leeds Bradford.
Yeah, I didn't even know that glass eyes actually can move, can't they? Because what they've done when they fitted it, they've put like a plastic piece.
Yeah, it's covering up
it.
your knackered eye.
Yeah.
So when you move your actual knackered eye, the eye moves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not a ball, is it?
It's like a contact.
No, it's like a,
it's a contact lens, basically.
Yeah.
I suppose there must be worse versions where you've lost the whole thing.
And that's why his eyebrows stuck up and whatever. Anyway, it's quite compelling watch. Whether it's true, who knows? But it's quite interesting.
But
anyway,
it did remind me of that Katy Perry thing, because she was saying, if you've got one and it gets a bit of air under it, you tap the side and it realigns itself.
Oh shit! That's ace.
And she goes like that. So I'm not saying she's got a glass eye, but that's literally what he describes. She describes, isn't it, for her?
Yeah.
She's got one, and she said there's a video of Paul McCartney doing it, and his eyes going fucking zigzagging around, and he goes like this.
Yeah.
And it's to get the air. There's an air bubble under it or something.
Oh shit!
I can actually do that with my eyes.
That's amazing.
Well,
Just
so
too
yeah, it reminded me
fragmented.
of that. It was exactly the same thing.
Yeah. But
Well, there's that one of Katy Perry as well, where she faints on the stage and they drag her off and she just comes back out again. I was saying to Dom the other day, if you fainted, right, and you were at work, don't just drag you off for 2 minutes and bring you back out to carry on, would they? I mean,
Yeah, but if you're at work, you're gonna be pushing it, aren't you? You want a cup of tea and
Yeah,
put your
feet
feet
up,
up,
like
yeah.
road boss.
yeah.
I think the robots.
Well,
boys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed talking to you tonight. It's been good
Yeah,
fun.
you too.
yeah, good. Man.
Yeah.
We'll sign
Nice
off.
relaxed chat for a Sunday night.
Yeah. Links will be in the show notes. Sheet farm. Is it .co.uk? I did have it on here.
Yeah. .co.uk. Yeah.
Yes.
It's .co.uk. Isn't it? It's down there in the show notes anyway. Scroll down and check it out. Highly recommend
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
If you send me the link to the video, I'll send it out.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll send you. It'll go out tomorrow, and I'll send you links and whatnot. But
If you email them to us, and I'll send an email out to members.
cool. Nice one. Appreciate that.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, but stay on the line for us for 1 minute while we play ourselves out.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, Phil. All
And,
right, then. Let's up.
You lot in
Cheers, Ben. Cheers,
podcast
Phil.
land. We'll catch you on the flip side, podcasters. Woo! Podcast landers. Okay. Sayonara.